Hi everyone, Lee Pacchia here, and you're watching Between the Lines, part of Fault Line's effort to look at the many cracks in America's criminal justice system. We're joined today by Noel Erinjeri. He joins us via Skype from his office in Michigan. Noel, welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So you had a really interesting piece that dropped today that talked about what Chicago Police Department and its union, the FOP, does every time there's a police shooting. I'm going to let you walk us through it. Let's just say hypothetically there's a police shooting, or at least up until recently, it looks like they fired the guy that was in charge of this. What does the union do when it appears on location of an officer-involved killing?
Well, so pretty much what they did is they had a veteran police officer who I think had spent a long time working in the Chicago PD's press office. When he left the police department, he got hired on with the union, and basically he was sort of their on-call PR guy. And every time he got a call about a shooting, he would head straight to the scene. I think the way he put it was, or at least the article put it was, no coffee, no food, just get in the car and go. And he would find out what he could find out and then start talking to the reporters. And the reporters
start spinning right away,
yeah,
right
exactly,
on location.
Exactly what it was. He would start spinning right away.
The name of the article is Dear FOP, Why Is There a Void? It's available on mimesislaw.com under the Fault Lines tab. I knew that this system existed. What surprised me about this article is the extent to which the operation seemed to run. It was more extensive than I would have guessed. In your opinion, do you think there are other cities that have arrangements like this?
Maybe not to that extent. I mean, I don't really know, to be honest with you, but it doesn't have to be necessarily like an organized formal thing. It's just if someone from the union or somebody who's not a neutral party is feeding the reporters what they're going to report, then that's going to it's going to shape the narrative. People are going to be taking those details, and when it gets reported in the news, that's what people read, and that's what they think.
That's where I want to go next. I mean, framing the narrative here is way important. It is going to impact the criminal trial. It's going to impact any civil proceeding. Can you talk to me a little bit about what this means as a criminal defense attorney to see parties in coming litigation put this level of spin on facts seconds after they happen?
Sure, and there's kind of two separate problems. There's the immediate problem of, if this is anytime there's a police shooting, there's obviously a lot of media attention. And, the people who are watching the news reports and reading the articles, they're potential jurors. And if that's what's shaping their understanding of events, then if that gets into the jury room, then, it's going to cause a problem for anyone who's prosecuting the police or any party who's in there. Whichever party is doing the spinning is going to, benefit from that. In a larger sense, I mean, you look at the public policy aspects of it. If the spin that's getting out is controlled by the police union, then, when it comes to like use of force policies or just, in general, like, do law enforcement officers deserve special rights above and beyond other citizens in this situation? The fact that they're the ones spinning what happens at every police shooting is going to affect the public discourse, I think.
It's interesting to think about from a logistics standpoint. This can't be cheap. I thought your piece was a really interesting story because, between the lines of the text, I found myself thinking about overall cost. Someone spending, or a group of people are spending an awful lot of money to provide this service. It really speaks to how much is involved in the police unions.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Part of the story.
And this is Chicago, so I mean the police union is going to be, I assume, very large. Coming up with a salary for this guy and whatever other costs are attendant, yeah, it's not going to be cheap. But compared to the benefits they're going to get, I think that it's going to be it's a really good investment. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I mean I don't blame them blame the union for looking out for its members. I kind of blame the reporters who the big thing was they said that, well, the reason they publish this information is because they're trying to publish something as soon as possible. As soon as possible isn't necessarily the standard I think you should be going for. You should be, talking to the witnesses, going to the scene, doing all the things that the journalist I quoted in my article said that they couldn't do because they were under such pressure, under such deadline pressure. And I think that's the problem. you can't, the union's going to do what the union's going to do, but that doesn't mean that the people reporting on it have to take it seriously.
Right, media bears a large portion of the blame in this story for sure. I thought it was interesting to note that CPD no longer has this guy on staff. What happened?
I think after the Laquan McDonald shooting, they kind of, I don't know if he was fired or not, but I don't think he's doing the same thing, like this whole on-call, rush to the scene, start talking to reporters thing. They've taken a more low-key track, is what it looks like to me.
So the workflow has changed. Any sense as to how it's changed?
I'm not sure. My guess is instead of rushing to the scene and trying to get on camera, there's probably some back channel stuff going on there. He'll talk to reporters privately in the phone as opposed to like on the scene. That's my guess.
Yeah,
that's
hard to sense what's happening here. I mean, CPD is unique when we look at criminal justice reform across the board. Chicago, from my vantage point, seems to have a worse problem than other metropolitan areas, but they also seem to be responding quickest. I don't know if that's because of the pressure that's on Mayor Rahm Emanuel and other authorities in municipal government or not. It's interesting to be looking at stuff like this happening in Chicago and then wondering what it means for the rest of the country.
Yeah, I would think that because Chicago is such a big city, and you probably see the same thing in New York with the NYPD and other large city departments, is, if you've got a police union that's very, very large and they can keep, basically PR flax on staff, you're going to get a lot more of this sort of thing. And I think in smaller departments, maybe you'll see the same thing, but there's probably not one designated guy. There's probably someone who talks to the press and tries to get the spin out, but maybe not in such a formal way.
Noel, thanks for your time today, sir.
No problem.
That's Noel Erinjeri, contributor to Fault Lines and criminal defense attorney based in Michigan. If you like the stuff we're working on, be sure to go check us out online. You can find us at MimesisLaw.com under the Fault Lines tab. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can find a link to Noel's article in the description below. If you're listening to us on iTunes, do us a favor and write us a good review in iTunes. It makes all the difference in the world. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Who have explicitly stated, even on the record, that if your client goes to trial and he loses, I am going to max him out. But you're absolutely right. It's not that thing in the criminal law that is inherently wrong or really has a wrong feel. I think a lot of people look at it and they say, well, yeah,